It's the start of a new month, which means a new standard, and it's been a while since I've covered anything Latin on the channel. And all of the Latin tunes I've covered so far have been bossa novas, so I thought it would be nice to do something a little bit different, and I've picked Dizzy Gillespie's Cuban-inspired Manteca. So in this jazz guitar lesson, I will show you the changes to the song, break down the form, and go through some considerations when trying to comp in this kind of Latin style. Now, before we get into it, the important link to all today's resources is in the description below. Let's start with a bit of background to the song first. Now, this dates back to 1947, and it's often regarded as the first jazz standard to be inspired by Cuban rhythms. So it's often called like an afro-Cuban kind of composition. Sometimes it's solely attributed to Dizzy Gillespie, the trumpeter, but really it was co-written with Cuban percussionist Chano Pozzo, and also with work from the arranger Gil Fuller. And essentially the song is a wonderful fusion of Cuban rhythms and jazz harmony. Now, the standard key for this one is B flat, and the form is quite interesting. It's a 40-bar form, and we have the A sections being 8 bars, so you've got 2 of those at the start, and it's AABA. The B section, however, rather than 8 bars, it is 16. So it's 2 8-bar A sections, a 16-bar B, and a go back to another A for 8 bars. Now here's the A section on the screen. You'll see here we've largely just got B flat 7, then we've got quite a few dominant chords at the end. Now this is what's called static harmony, when you stick on one chord for a long time. And this kind of style, which this song's kind of like got a mambo feel, you're not going to comp it in the way you would, obviously swing jazz guitar rhythm, the way kind of most jazz standards are played, or bossa nova for that matter. When there's just that one chord, it's all about the groove. Now, I'll just caveat what I'm about to do by saying, as ever with comping, it's about who you're with, what other instruments you're with, what they're doing, that will influence what you do. And I'll just show you a kind of basic thing kind of I would do in this kind of Latin groove. So rather than play, say, a full chord, I might sometimes play just one note or double stop, so 2 notes of the chord, and something rhythmic and syncopated like 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what I'm doing here is I'm playing the root. I've got a B flat major triad, play the root, then I play the 3rd and the 5th on the G and B strings. Then I go to the 5th of the chord, then the flat 7, and then back. So that's I've got all the harmony of a B flat 7, but I'm not playing it at the same time. That type of feel. You might call this a montuno, which is, there's 2 types of montuno kind of rhythms, the 3-2 pattern, the 2-3 pattern. I'm not going to get into that subject today. It might just open your ears and eyes to kind of some further points of learning. I just wanted to show you a kind of basic way to navigate this kind of feel. But as ever with comping, it all depends on the instruments around you and what they're doing. But this would be kind of my go-to groove. for that kind of playing where I'm, you know, not playing all of the chord at the same time. So there's some nice texture. There's the syncopation, which will what I do with that will really depend on what other instruments are doing. But if you've not played that kind of thing before, just getting the groove of that can be tricky. Comping wise, trying to do something rhythmic, syncopation, but reflects the harmony of the song. And the end of each A section has this descending chord sequence of dominant chords. And you go in B flat 7, go down a tone to A flat 7, D flat 7, G flat 7, F7, because that's the dominant of B flat, to take you back to do the A again. The timing of that is all pretty syncopated. You know, you got, just looking at the notation there for you guys, the B flat 7 coming in on the and of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So the all coming in on ands there. Yeah, B flat 7 on the and of 4, the A flat 7 on the and of 2, D flat 7 on the and of 4, G flat 7 on the and of 2, and then the F7 on the and of 3. So all having that kind of push feel coming in. It's kind of like the chord comes in earlier than you expect it, but certainly that kind of syncopation, you know, I think really just listening to the song a lot, getting familiar with that kind of feel and the syncopation and the melody and the rhythm section there will help you do it. Now, if you'd like to learn more about the comping, I've got a full comping study for once through the form of this one, where I break down a few different rhythms and techniques that I would personally do in this kind of style. That is on the accompanist tier, the second tier of my Patreon, link in the description. The B section is much more diverse. Let me just run through the shapes first. A flat minor 7, D flat 7 flat 9, you could just play D flat 7 if you prefer, G flat major 7 to a cheeky B7 flat 5, you could just play B7 if you prefer, as long as you don't play a fifth, and then B flat 7, E flat 7, resolving to A flat major 7. Get a bit of respite there for 2 bars, that is. Back to where we started the B section. A flat minor 7, D flat 7 flat 9, G flat major 7, and then we're going to move here. I'm going to go F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B7, just checking where I voiced it for you guys, and then this is working our way back to the A section. F minor 7 flat 5 to B flat 7, and then C minor 7 flat 5 to F7. Now that F7 is the dominant of B flat, so it will lead us back to do the final A section. Now obviously the harmony there is very different to the A section. It's much more traditional in terms of jazz chord movements. And what I would do for something like this to make the A section different to make the B section different to the A section, rather than all that kind of thing, I would, you know, pick a rhythm and keep it and use more traditional chord shapes here to reflect the more traditional kind of jazz harmony. So I would do something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to that. So that's the kind of feel I go for. Again, that kind of comping rhythm is on my Patreon comping study, so if you want to check that out, do so. But you can kind of get a feel for what I'm doing there, just picking a rhythm that's nice and strong and rhythmic and applying it to the chords. There's a bit of anticipation of the chords coming, so like when there's a chord change, I might put the chord change on the and of 4. Again, it's a 2-bar pattern I'm doing there. Da 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 ba 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 ba. But you know, it's I always think with jazz, whether it's a Latin-based song or whatever, when you're playing a song, you know, it's A A B A. It's quite nice to mark the sections by doing something different, kind of, whether that's as a lead player or sometimes as an accompanist, where you will do the rhythm differently. And obviously this song, you've got such a contrast in the harmony, going from just pretty much one chord for the majority of the A section, and then suddenly we're jumping around keys here. So the focus is very different, and you'll notice that if you listen to versions of the song. We're then back for a final A, and you know, by the time you get to another section, you might vary it. I might change that sort of thing I did in the first bit. forth. I think the big thing on this song is, as with ever with Latin rhythms, that rhythm I've got going on in that first section. Boom, ba, dum, ba, boom, ba, dum, dum. It is about learning to feel it ultimately, and feel it against the beat, against the pulse. And I would say with the same with the rhythm that I did on the B section. Once you've got that rhythm, it's kind of, you don't really want to have to think about whether it comes in on 2 and the syncopation of it. You want to just learn to feel it. I did put the rhythm up on the screen for you for that, what I did for the first A section, and looking at the rhythm and working out, where it comes in when you're playing on the and, when you're playing on the stronger part of the beat. I think that is important. In the long run, though, you've got to internalize these rhythms and just feel them and play them kind of just instinctively. But anyway, that's something that all of you individually will have different kind of points of learning to develop, I would say. So the real benefits of learning this song, I think, is kind of learning about different rhythms and how the role of rhythm guitar is going to fit differently. And as I said at the top of the lesson, that kind of thing is difficult to advise about, in the sense that what you should play will differ depending on what instruments you're playing with, or say if you're playing it, so backing track, what the instruments are doing, and trying to get what you're doing to complement and fit in. I say it's about getting into that groove and then finding the right role of the guitar in that particular situation. The kind of, this kind of thing I've shown you is a kind of default thing I would do, but equally I would vary it to suit the musical situation I'm in. If you want to learn more about this song with me, as I said, over on Patreon, you can get the full comping study, which breaks down all these rhythms and different variations, and I go through the timing of it. There's also chord tone outline for it, soloing lessons, which break down what do you do when you solo over just one chord from the majority of A section. How do you negotiate that? And that breaks down some cool kind of superimposed arpeggios and things we can do there. And also the idea of utilizing rhythm and groove again in soloing, putting emphasis on that rather than, say, harmony. As ever, if you have any questions or any comments, you leave them below and I'll get back to you. Hope you enjoyed this lesson. Don't forget, jazz guitar lessons every Wednesday with myself, Andy. Until next time, you take care.